And House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy is now saying that the GOP will investigate intelligence agencies and leaders who were aware of Hunter Biden's activities and chose not to do anything about it. In an interview with the New York Post, Leader McCarthy said intel officials should come in and talk to us or be subject to a subpoena. Now, this all goes back to October 2020. You may remember, 14 days before the 2020 presidential election, 51 former intelligence agency officials released a statement claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. In addition to intelligence agencies and leaders, the New York Post is also reporting that House Republicans have already vowed to subpoena Hunter Biden as well. Florida Republican Congressman Greg Steube joins me. Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening.
For the life of me, the two countries that have dogged us the most, captured our attention the most in the past 2 years, are China and Ukraine. And I never could understand how those members of the intel came out and made and issued that statement. Either they knew and didn't want this about Hunter Biden's involvement, whatever it is, and we need to figure out more of that. Either they knew or they didn't know, which I think is just as bad when you're calling it Russian disinformation. So your thought on this?
Yeah, they had to know. I mean, these are the highest level intelligence officials
Maybe
in our
they
country.
didn't. Which is dangerous.
Yeah, either way, it's horrible. And before we bring them in and start asking them questions, the first thing we have to do is get documents, communication, what evidence we have, and what communication was going back and forth within these agencies. And then we'll have a basis and evidence to start asking them those questions. A lot of the information about the foreign involvement of Hunter Biden's on his laptop. And all of that's going to lead to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's saying he didn't have any involvement in these business dealings, and we know that's not the case now. So I think we start with the evidence and the communication, and then we have a basis to bring these individuals in.
I don't know if we know that. I mean, like,
questions.
This is where I differ. I don't know if we know that. What I do think we have is I think we have something out there that is worthy of an investigation, which may completely exonerate anybody who has any sort of been accused of anything. But we haven't even gotten to the point where we have an open investigation. So nobody knows anything. Instead, people just take sides, and that's the problem. That's one of the problems we have, as well as the fact that we have 51 members of our intel community making this statement right before an election and using the term Russian disinformation.
Which it absolutely wasn't Russian disinformation. All that information is true now, and we know that is a fact. And it isn't just going to be the Judiciary Committee and the Intelligence Committee. You're going to have almost every committee in Congress that's going to have some level of jurisdiction over these different agencies. They're going to be bringing these officials in and asking them very tough questions about what they knew and when they knew it about Hunter Biden, and putting them under oath before we ask those questions, so the American people can actually get to the truth and the facts of what really happened.
Do you agree if they said they didn't know anything but just signed on, that that's pretty bad as well? I mean, I don't know that anybody will, but I mean, to say that they will, because the other 50 were signing, so I signed too, essentially, you know, making this accusation when, you know, if they didn't know and just signed on.
Right. It shows a complete level of incompetence. It's like the FISA warrants that they used to go after Carter Page and some of these other individuals in the Trump campaign. They had to have known that that information in the dossier was false, or should have known that it was false. And either way, it shows complete ineptitude on the behalf and politicization of our DOJ and our intelligence bureaus.
All I know is that I like transparency, and when you lay out all the cards, instead of everyone sort of making things up in their head of what they think is on the computer or not on the computer, is that at least if we have some spotlight on what, you know, so we can see what we're dealing with, I think we'd be much better off. Anyway, I took the last word on that. Congressman, thank you for joining me, sir.
Yep, thanks for having me.